You're saying I'm trusting somebody else to help me on this big dream. And what if they don't follow through in a way that I want them to follow through? Or what if they don't do it fast enough? Or what if they don't do it at all?
Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver. And if you are currently feeling overwhelmed in your business, you should actually be working less, not more.
Why are you saying that statement?
Well, because I am currently feeling overwhelmed in our business and I am currently working more and not less.
Okay, I want to unpack this though. I want to talk through this process because this seems counterproductive. You would feel this need to work more if you are feeling like you're behind, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you have a lot of things going on. So I want to start with kind of going backwards a little bit before we kind of unpack where you're at. And we'll coach through that and we'll work through what you're going through. So we did, for 3 months, we had some healthy boundaries.
Yeah, our 3-month journey we went on. It was awesome, where we were only working till 5 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday, and no weekends.
Yeah. So we hired a coach. This was one of the things that we implemented. When did we let that go?
We let that go when we went on a trip.
Okay.
So we were gone.
Okay. So since you've gotten home from that trip, let's walk through that, how you're feeling and what actions you're taking.
Well, since we got home from the trip, I no longer have the healthy boundaries. So I went back to bad habits before we implemented the 90-day rule. So I'm now working more. I'm working weekends. So I don't have a shutoff time, which was a huge takeaway during the challenge. During that journey, one of my biggest takeaways was giving myself permission to shut it off. And I haven't been holding myself accountable to that just because we have had some things going on. We've got big goals. We have lots of things in the works. And so I've been working way more than I was during the 90-day challenge. And what has happened is I am feeling my anxiety has creeped back into my life. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling busy. I'm not feeling productive. I'm feeling busy. My sleep, which was some of the best I've ever had in my life during the 90-day journey. My sleep is terrible again because all I'm doing all night long is thinking about what I need to be doing, what needs to be done, what's on the agenda tomorrow versus shutting it off and just relaxing.
But we're not any busier now than we were 6 months ago. We were still creating. We still had the same big goals. We were still in hyperdrive. So what changed? Are you trying to control the situation? Are you trying to control the outcome?
My control monster may have came out a little bit. I would say what's changed the most is, number one, not having those set times on the calendar that's like, okay, this is off time, because I did away with those. So I would say that. I would say I am trying to control how fast things get done.
Yeah.
Which, saying it out loud, is funny in itself.
It's not funny. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. But just because I work harder, I want things done quicker, doesn't mean they're going to get done any quicker. Actually, getting them done quicker would be empowering my team to help me so it does get done sooner. And that does not mean I have to work more. That means I'm asking for help.
And you're working less then.
And I would be working less. Yes.
So what would be a step that you can take that would help alleviate your need to control the situation? Or what would be a step that you can take that you can ask for help?
Well, number one, ask for help. Number two, I don't think it's getting the healthy boundaries back on the calendar. Okay. Like the shut off times, like bam, whether it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, like we're done. Like the day is over from a work standpoint. It's time to work on my personal life and do something I enjoy outside of work and get my mind off of what needs to be done. All right. What can be done, the busyness of, oh, I need to get this done so we can see this effect in the business, and just start focusing on what's actually getting done and the one or two things every single day that only I can do as the leader in the organization to actually move the needle in the business.
Yeah, but that's a scary thing, because you're saying I'm trusting somebody else to help me on this big dream, and what if they don't follow through in a way that I want them to follow through? Or what if they don't do it fast enough? Or what if they don't do it at all?
That's fair.
Yeah. You're saying need, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a need and a want are two different things. A need is coming from a place of lack.
I was going to say need is scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what are you actually afraid of? That the business goes backwards? That if you're not in it, things won't be moving?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I'm afraid of not failing, but that the business. Yeah, you're right. That the business or revenue goes backwards versus forwards versus growth, and just not moving as fast as maybe I want it to move.
So if it moves slower, but it goes bigger because you have more people that are helping with that, would that feel like a win?
That'd be a huge win.
So I'm reading a book right now, and you are too, that has been wildly beneficial in this, because I understand I still want to jump back in, and I still want to do it because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there is a barrier of entry where you have to know pretty much how to do everything in your business. And when you do that, you want to do it your way. So when you start outsourcing or hiring people to help you, you want to jump back in because you can do it faster, more than likely, and you do it your way.
Yeah, but I feel like I've actually become like a cog in the wheel.
You're the bottleneck.
Like, I really believe that. Like, I feel like over the last 6 weeks since I went back to these habits that I'm definitely not proud of, when it brag about, like the feeling I have right now of being overwhelmed, the anxiety creeping back up, and then things are actually moving slower than what they did when I had the healthy boundaries on the projects that we were working on. Like, I actually feel like I am the cog in the wheel right now of why things aren't moving as quickly as they should be.
So
not to throw you off, because the 10X is that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to stay where we're at, because I like how you're dropping in, and I appreciate your vulnerability and transparency in sharing this, because this is a very real feeling that I relate to. So if you continue to do this, if you continue to jump back in and be the cog in the wheel,
yeah,
what happens?
Well, number one, that's not going to create the team culture or organizational culture that we're wanting to establish. But number two, it's going to stifle our growth.
Okay. So it's
going to stifle the amount of people that we want to help.
Okay. So if you remove yourself, what happens?
More team buy-in.
So they have to be more accountable to what they're doing.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
We will, number one, I'll have more freedom. I'll have less anxiety. I'll be less overwhelmed. I'll be working less, which I would love. Like, I would love to work less, because a huge goal of ours during the summer is always to spend as much time on the lake as possible. And we do a good job of that in the mornings, but I've been working later, let's just say pretty damn late at nighttime. And so I haven't been able to, number one, do that, which brings me a lot of joy. Number two, spend as much time with you, which brings me a lot of joy. And so overall, I will be a happier individual, with less stress, less anxiety, less feeling overwhelmed all the time. I'll get back to sleeping better at nighttime.
And as a leader of the organization, how valuable is that?
I think I'd be leading by example. And I think that I'm also showing the team that I trust them to get to get the job done. Like that they have the skill sets and I'm not allowing them to actually run their race right now. Like they are racehorses that I'm actually currently like, oh, I can do it better, when actually they can do it better because that's their skill set.
Well, and even if they can't necessarily do it better, let's play devil's advocate a little bit.
Okay.
If you as the leader are healthy, you're sleeping well, you're positive, you have joy in your life, you're not feeling overwhelmed, you're not stressed, how do you think that affects them and their performance?
Absolutely. It's going to increase their performance. It's going to increase their overall happiness. But also I'm doing, like, if I look at the value of the position, like I should not be doing some of the things I'm currently doing. I should be focusing on the higher value goals or tasks that only I should be doing, when I actually, now I'm saying this out loud.
Yeah, and I think that it's a shift in an identity.
It is.
To go from doing to leading eliminates what your day looks like. And I think as somebody who can very easily myself get caught in the doing just so it gets done, I miss doing the things that only I can do that are in my zone of genius of leading, growing, networking, ideating. As a founder and as a leader, one of the biggest things that we are responsible for is the vibe.
For sure.
The culture of all of it.
For sure.
So when you put this deadline on you and you say, okay, I'm going to work from 9 to 5, that squeezes your time.
Makes me much more intentional.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm still like, I've been very good with being disciplined with like the time blocks and trying to be intentional with my day. Like, I feel like I've still been pretty structured with the intention, but I'm just not shutting it off. And then it does turn into busy versus productive. Like, I feel like aspects of my day are very productive of the things that only I can do, but then I start to creep into the things that I shouldn't be doing, which then turns into busy versus productive when, quite frankly, like, I'm never going to be the type of leader that brags about how many hours I'm working or how many emails I'm checking a day or anything of that nature, because quite frankly, no one cares. But number two, like, I should, in my opinion, like if I have a team that is fully capable of that, why am I still doing that? Besides, I'm tying my worth back to my work ethic again. And maybe my ego's coming in too, saying I can do it better, which is not necessarily the case.
Well, I think you're a control freak too. I think
I'm 100%. Yeah.
Business owners, myself included, are control freaks. That's why we start our own thing. But I appreciate you sharing all of this. Again, we've dropped down in tone. We're having like a coaching session right now. But I think
we're talking about emotions.
I think it's very relevant too, especially in the climate that we're in with the economy, with rates. There's a lot of things that need to be discussed in order for us to really grow our businesses and move forward. But the book that we're both reading right now that's been really eye-opening, because coming back from our trip, coming back from Europe, we came back and it's a similar pattern that we do a lot.
Yep.
The pattern is we did it when we were in the RV. We're gone for an extended amount of time. We don't work to the extent that we do when we're home. So we get back home and we almost, I wouldn't say almost, we do. We overcompensate, and it's a tinge a little bit.
Well, we didn't really work hardly at all over that 3.5 week period. And then we got back and we're like, let's get to work, was my mindset, like, oh shit, I'm behind.
Yes. I need to catch up. I need to play catch up. And so we start dumping, like all of these things that we need to do.
And all these new ideas as well. So not only do I need to catch up, but oh shit, I also need to implement and run and create this and get this out to the public and the marketplace so we can help more people. And and then all of a sudden, all my bad habits that I had tried to over the 90 days, I didn't try, like I had like eliminated those bad habits. Then I came back and got right back into like bad habits.
Well, I think that's part of life too, is a constant like reevaluation of behaviors. and seeing like, okay, still have work to do in this category.
But this book, you're right. Like, what is it? 10x is greater than
10x is easier than 2x.
Easier than 2x, yeah.
And the big thing that I want to encourage you, if you're listening and you're like, yes, I understand, I am going through this. Number one, you're hearing two high performing entrepreneurs who also understand exactly where you're at. It's completely normal to go through that, to feel that, to constantly evaluate what you're doing every single day. But there's also an identity shift that has to happen if you want to grow. And this is what a lot of what this book talks about is the kind of person that you have to become in order to have a 2x versus 10x goal. 2x just requires more brute strength. So that's where we tend to fall into the trap of working harder, working later, all of these. Whereas 10x is a complete shift of your identity. It's an evolution. And the thing that they talk about in this book a lot that I love is who, not how. And that's where I find myself starting to grasp for control is I'm trying to figure out how it will happen. Yeah. And I'm trying to control how it happens versus when I think about dream scenario of what my business looks like, what my goals look like, how it feels, what my day, my relationships, my money, my travel, my freedom, all of these things. Who do I need to make this possible?
That's right. That's right.
And I think for us, if you are sitting in this position, you're like, yeah, that's great, but I don't have the financial capability to hire the who's that I need. I'm going to challenge you on that a little bit. Because as we are recording this, it's a Monday. It's a podcast day for us. We've just hired a new employee. And very easily we could have said, nope, we can continue to do what we're doing. But there is something that happens when you bring on an added investment into your business.
You just said it. It's an investment. It's not an expense. If it's the right person, it is a true investment. And that will, if you say you don't have, and I've been here, all right, I've said this, I've done this because I've looked at, not in this exact situation, but in prior examples, like I've looked at revenue, I've looked at money, like I could justify saying, oh, it just isn't the right time. By saying that, that has actually held us back. Like, and you learn as you go. And that's why I'm hoping that by sharing this does help you change the mindset from expense to investment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if it's whether you've got the cash flow, whether you have to go out and get a loan, like it's a true investment. The right person is a true investment into your business, your organization, and the future of your organization.
Yeah. So I want to kind of bring this all together. So I
love the focus on the who, not the how, though.
Yes.
Because the how has personally paralyzed me like the last 6 weeks. Like I've kind of been paralyzed in I'm doing things and I'm staying busy and I'm working a ton, but I've been paralyzed, focused on how are we actually going to get there? Because if I'm continuing to do what I'm doing with what we want to accomplish in the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, there's absolutely no way I can continue to do what I'm doing now and us accomplish what we want to accomplish and the goals we have set and the things that we want to do. Like I've been almost paralyzed in the how, like how is this actually going to get done? Mm-hmm. And by hiring someone new to our team, like even today on our first call, I know, like I already have a sense of feeling less overwhelmed, less anxious. I'm excited to get the calendar times back on the calendar to where I'm turning it off. Like I'm going back to our 3-month journey. Like I'm going to implement the habits that we learned during that journey, the boundaries. And I'm just rolling with it because I saw how much we accomplished in those 90 days. Whereas in the last 6 weeks, it's almost like we went backwards. Or I feel like we went backwards.
Yeah. And in what our dream life looks like and what our dream business looks like and how it feels. So I want to bring this all together. So first, if you're feeling this, know that it's completely normal, feeling overwhelmed, feeling behind. It's more than likely control. You're trying to control a situation to put it in the most favorable outcome for you. You either need to feel a sense of security. You need to feel like you know what's going on. It's a control thing. Have awareness around it. Have awareness around, okay, this is what's happening. This is how it shows up. The next step I would say would be to start dreaming. You have to start co-creating what you want your identity to look like, what your business looks like, what your day looks like. What are you doing? What are you not doing? How does it feel? Do you want to travel? Do you want to work this amount of hours? What does that look like? Because then you can start setting your boundaries. This is what's important to me. These are the times I'm willing to work. When you start putting deadlines on things, you get very intentional because you can only focus on what you can do within that time frame. So like Michael was saying, implementing the boundaries was a very easy way to start feeling what is really going to move the needle, what is really going to push me forward, and what can I delegate out to somebody else? Which brings up the next point, which is who do I need, not how does it get done? Start thinking about who do you need. Right off the bat, if you were to cut your day down by 2 hours and you couldn't check your email, scroll, all of those things, who is the person that you would need to fill that gap? Because then you're going to start showing up and becoming the leader that can attract that kind of person.
That's right.
That can afford that kind of investment into your business.
Well, and I think like one thing that I've taken, one of my biggest takeaways from the book, the 10X is easier than 2X. Like you talk about dreaming, and we've had this conversation. Like dreaming is not always the easiest thing for me. Like I see my dream life, and we have really big goals, and I have aspects of like what I would like to see in my life. But one thing that the book really talked about is let's say right now your goal this year may be to make $1 million a year. How about if it was 10 million? Okay. And I don't want you to focus on the money aspect. What would you have to do? Because it's probably impossible. Okay. A 10X jump should feel impossible, and it might even be impossible. But who do you have to do? What team would you have to have? Who do you have to become? What would you have to do to make the impossible possible?
Mm-hmm. Because it requires a complete shift of who you are.
It's a mindset shift. It's a different identity. Mm-hmm. It is not what you're doing right now in the seat you're in. There's no way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've got going on.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for letting we coach in very different styles. Mm-hmm. Like I drop in and I want to really like get to hear the emotions and the words that you use. So I appreciate you letting me go there with you.
Yeah.
And letting all of you who are listening, thank you for being a part of this. I think that it's always important. I'm always going to talk about the emotions and the feelings because those things start to control our behavior. Speaking of control, and how we show up and how we view ourselves. And our whole goal in life is to stay in the game. It's to stay in your dream, to continue to dream bigger, to stay in it versus tapping out and being like, yeah, I quit. This is too hard. So we're always trying to look at areas where we can grow and evolve and improve and continue to live and be in our dream life. So absolutely.
Thank you for having this conversation with me.
Absolutely.
So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I hope. I don't know. I feel much lighter right now just by talking about this. So thank you so much to all of those of you that are listening. As always, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. I appreciate you spending time with us today. If you have questions, if you're going through something similar, feel free to reach out, 816-727-7610. Other than that, go out and make it a great day.